Alright, so we're back with more My Hero Academia, and before I talk about, like, the stuff that I really liked about the episode, and, like, there were some moments that I actually genuinely really liked about the episode, but there's kind of one thing that I want to say that, a lot of people were talking about when it happened in the manga, and it was, like, all over Twitter when it happened. Obviously this was a while ago, but now I'm, like, finally seeing it in the anime. It was the line where, like, Mineta is trying to, like, talk to Deku, and he's like talking about like the reasons why he admires Midoriya so much and why he wants him to come back and this and that and yada yada. But the way that it's translated, it makes it seem like, or at least for a lot of people, it made people assume that Mineta was trying to insinuate that he was like gay for Deku, which I don't think that's what it was supposed to mean at all. I think it's just the way that it's translated, and the way that it's translated, it just means what it means, you know? I don't think it's translated the way that it is, right? But I don't think that's the way Horikoshi meant for it to be portrayed within the context of the story and between the characters. I don't think that's what it was supposed to mean at all. I think people are really weird for trying to insinuate that Mineta is, like, gay for Deku or something. I don't know, I think that's really weird. Not that I hated that, because that's like one of the things that I wanted to point out about the episode, and I liked how every single one of the class members had something to say to Midoriya, right? Or they're going to eventually have something to say towards him. Because every single member of the class has something positive to say about him, and they have at least one positive experience with him. And they know what he's trying to do. They understand his ideals and what he's trying to do, but they see what it's causing him, right? It's causing him, like, basically just a bunch of pain, and he's constantly exhausted, and he's, you know, he's destroying himself, you know, and you can visually see that with the way that he looks all the time. The Bakugo even in the episode points out how he doesn't even, you know, look like a hero anymore. You know, he doesn't look like himself. But obviously his ideals are, he's trying to, you know, stop all the villainy and all the, like, dangerous acts that are going on by himself. And he's trying to run away from everyone because he doesn't want them to get hurt. He so desperately doesn't want them to get hurt that he's putting his mental and his physical body in danger just to make sure that that doesn't happen in any way whatsoever. But all it's doing is causing him to gradually self-destruct himself. And it's going to make it eventually easier for All For One to eventually steal One For All. And that could potentially be what he is trying to do. And that's what they're trying to tell him. That's what his entire class is trying to tell him. They're trying to get through to him. They're trying to get their thoughts and emotions and feelings towards him throughout the entirety of the episode. But he just isn't trying to listen to it. He's trying to run away. He's trying to... He understands what they're saying, but he just doesn't want to hear it because he just so desperately doesn't want to see and know that the people that he cares about the most are going to get injured and are going to maybe potentially die. He doesn't want that to ever happen. And he knows that if he goes to UA, it's not just going to be them who are going to get attacked and potentially injured or killed. It's going to be a bunch of civilians that are also going to get attacked or injured or killed and all that. So he's trying to run away, but they're trying to get to him. And what I also really liked as well is that Danger Sense allows him to be able to sense, you know, malicious intent and evil. But the entire time as they're using their quirks on him to try to get him to stop, it's not going off in any way whatsoever. Whether or not he's trying to make it activate, or the fourth user actually has some semblance of controlling it or not, it's not going off, right? And that's because they don't mean him any malicious intent. They don't mean... they have no evil in their hearts. They're just trying to get him to understand that he doesn't have to do this all by himself. And that's what I was talking about in last week's episode. He has to basically just accept and finally, you know, learn that he doesn't have to do all of this by himself. But because by trying to do this all by himself, he's just isolating himself from everybody, and people are going to see him in a different light, and he's not going to be the best hero that he could potentially be. He doesn't have to do it all by himself anymore. He doesn't have to do everything all on his own, like he was All Might or something. He doesn't have to do it by himself like the previous wielders were trying to do. He can use the help and assistance of everyone else. He can and has to accept that other people are willing to put their lives on the lines like he's trying to do, that they're trying to do the exact same thing as he is. And even though they can't keep up in the same way that, you know, he's capable of being able to, they're still going to try regardless. They're still going to be heroes, because there are people in the world who are trying to desperately be heroes. Obviously, there are a lot of people who ended up retiring because they weren't real heroes. They just were in it for like the business and the money aspect, and they weren't true heroes. But there are people like Deku who are trying their best to keep up with him and keep up with the others to save the world, right? And save Japan, because right now it's kind of all imploding by itself. So, you know, I really liked how everybody had something to say. And I also really liked towards the very end of the fight, when they finally stop him, Bakugo finally starts talking with him. Something that he really needed to say. He even says it himself. He doesn't just want to say it, he needed to say it to him. And it's the fact that he finally apologized for everything that he ever did before in the past. He tried bullying Midoriya because he wanted basically nothing to do with him, because he hated him because he was quirkless, but he also hated him because at the same time, for some reason, even though this kid was quirkless, he still somehow felt more virtuous and heroic than he could ever potentially end up being in the future. A kid who was completely quirkless was more heroic than someone who had a quirk, and a quirk that was as powerful as Bakugo's. And that anger and frustration grew even more, especially when they got into UA and things didn't go the way that he wanted, and it just made him more angrier and more upset and more frustrated. But gradually over time, he had to finally let those feelings and emotions go. He finally had to let them go and acknowledge that Midoriya was better than him in many ways, and now he has to try to get to the point where he is on the same level as him, and Bakugo basically is now. I think Bakugo is a much better character than he ever has been before in the past. And the only thing that I'm upset about in that regard is that I wish something like this happened sooner, because it sort of felt like, I don't know, I guess just the way that the seasons were formatted, or because it's done in a seasonal anime, something just didn't feel right in terms of like the pacing. It sort of felt like it took way longer than it should have for Bakugo to finally have this character redemption, right? For him to finally get this growth and development that he kind of really desperately needed. But I really like that it finally happened now. I love how they're trying to just bring him back, and they do, and they're gonna do whatever they can, you know, to make people accept that he is one of them. And even though obviously Shigaraki and All for One are after him, he still has a place at UA. And at the very end of the episode, all of the civilians rather are screaming at him and basically telling him to, like, you know, piss off, you know, get away, because the villains are going to eventually end up attacking, because it's rumored that that's the boy that they're going after, right? He's the one that they're going after. So if he's here, they're eventually going to end up showing up, and they're going to cause mayhem and destruction at UA, and they're going to potentially kill a lot of people. And they obviously don't want that to happen, but it doesn't matter to them, because ultimately it's the other classmates, it's the other heroes who are accepting him back at UA. They're accepting him back where he belongs, somewhere that he needs to be. He needs to be surrounded by people who are just like him, someone who are trying to do what he's trying to do, and that he isn't alone in his ideals and his goals. He doesn't have to do it on his own. He can have other people help him along the way, and that's what he has to accept. That's what he has to acknowledge. He doesn't have to do everything alone. He doesn't have to be alone in order for him to accomplish what he's trying to do. He can have other people by his side who are willing to try to run beside him as he's trying to achieve his dreams. And yeah, that's basically just what was happening in the episode. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. Season 6 has been a really weird surprise. I really wasn't expecting much after Season 5, because I just thought Season 5 was just kind of underwhelming, and I didn't think it really did a whole lot for me to get really excited for the next season. But Season 6 has been, I guess, subversive for me. I don't know. I don't really like them saying that, but it has been kind of subversive for me. And it's exceeded my expectations, and I'm really enjoying it. And this isn't even the last episode. I guess I counted my episodes wrong, because this is episode 23, and tomorrow, or next week, sorry, is episode 24, and I think that's the last episode of the season. I think. I don't know. I gotta really like double check and see if my information's correct. It's probably not. Anyways, that's pretty much it. If you like the video, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more, please be sure to subscribe. Let me know what you thought about the episode in the comments down below. I'd be really excited to read what you have to say. Anyways, that's it for me. I'm out. Peace.